Good morning, everyone. My name is Abhay Singh, and I welcome you all in today's video analysis of The Hindu. Today is 12th of July 2024, and we'll start with the first news headline for the day. And before moving into the first news headline for the day, we will see what important day we celebrate on 12th of July every year. So, on 12th of July every year, we celebrate Malala Day. So Malala Yousafzai is an activist from Pakistan. She was shot by the Taliban. She was shot by the Taliban long back, and from then onwards, the United Nations has started designated 12th July as Malala Day. So on 12th of July we celebrate Malala Day. Now moving into the first news headline for the day, which is also very important for us to understand. What is the first important news headline for the day? That the government has told the Supreme Court that the government has told or informed the Supreme Court that the NEET counseling will start from the third week of July. This information is shared by the Union government to the Supreme Court of India. While Supreme Court adjourns hearing the case to 8 July, Union government says candidature of students found to be beneficiaries of any malpractices will be cancelled at any stage during the counselling process or even afterwards. Cancellation would have no impact on the overall seat allocation process if done before the third round, says Centre. So basically, Centre has clearly, given his stand, and the stand is that they are not going to, they are not going to stop the counselling. They will start the counselling from the third week July onwards, and if they found any student who is who got certain benefits of these malpractices, so they will oust that particular student. They will oust that particular student from the counseling session, and he won't be able to take part in the counseling session as well. This position is also cleared by the Union government in the Supreme Court of India. Now moving on to the next important news headline for the day. Next important news headline for the day. And what is the next important news headline for the day? Moving on. So this is related to know the Kaveri panel, the Kaveri Water Regulation Committee on Thursday asked Karnataka to ensure the flow of 11,500 cusecs of water at Bengaluru every day till July 31 to supply water for Tamil Nadu. Karnataka had cited deficit water flow and urged the committee to defer any decisions till July 25. Between June 1 and July 9, the in total into four reservoirs in Karnataka was 41.651, which is a 28.7%, which is a 28.71% deficit from the average inflows in previous years. So Karnataka government has clearly stated that they had the water deficit. That's why they cannot release any water to Tamil Nadu. Now the Karnataka government has also requested that any decision on this particular issue should be delayed or should be delayed till 25th of July 2024. But again, the decision is taken, and now the Karnataka has to supply 11,500 cusecs of water to 11,500 cusecs of water to Tamil Nadu till July 31. Now moving on to the next important news item for the day, and the next important news item for the day is China is decisive enabler of Russia's war, says NATO. So during a meeting of the leaders from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, it was said that the role of China is huge in Russia-Ukraine war, because China is acting as a decisive enabler for Russia war. Now, leaders of the North Atlantic Treaty Organizations on Thursday look to bolster ties with Asian partners after slamming China as decisive enabler decisive enabler of Russia's war before holding talks war before before hold of Russia's war before holding talks with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky at the end of the summit in Washington. The 32 nation alliance has used the pomp-filled set piece in the US Capitol to showcase its resolve against Moscow and backing for Kyiv. After spending the bulk of summit focused on bolstering Ukraine, NATO shifted attention eastward by welcoming the leaders of Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and South Korea. Now, this is also very important for us to understand that China has been declared as the decisive enabler of Russia-Ukraine war. Now, somewhat NATO countries feels that China is somehow sponsoring this particular war by supplying various kinds of arms and ammunitions to Russia. But China is least affected. China is least affected by the statement given by the NATO countries because the West is actually fighting the war with Russia, not only Ukraine, because they have continuous supplied arms and ammunitions to the Ukraine. Now this thing also becomes very important because the role of Russia in the international geopolitics is very big. That's why everybody is supplying so much of arms and ammunitions to Russia, just to just the feeling of defeating Russia in a long run. That's why various countries are sponsoring this war, and Ukraine is not getting this particular thing, that Ukraine is fighting this war with the help of other countries. At that moment, when all the countries will stop funding this particular war, Ukraine will lose this war ultimately, because Ukraine cannot win against this war against Russia on their own. They need to take the help of other countries as well, and that's why other countries are showing massive support to Ukraine, because they are not they don't want to involve themselves directly. So that's why they don't want to involve themselves directly, so they are indirectly attacking Russia by helping Ukraine. The new thing that is coming up from this Russia Ukraine war, that West countries have decided, or the West have decided, that they will supply F-16 fighter jets to Russia, to Ukraine, for fighting the war against Russia. Now moving on to the next important news headline for the day. Trial in ISRO case may be delayed. So yesterday we studied about we look into a news which was related to basically that the Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI) has filed a charge sheet against the four former Kerala police officer and one IB official. Now this charge sheet was filed in the case related to espionage case that is filed against the ISRO scientist Nambi Narayan and one one Maldivian national, against whom the charges were labeled by these four officials from the Kerala Police Department and one official from the Intelligence Bureau Department. Once it is clear that Mr. Nambi Narayan, who is a ISRO scientist, does not have any direct or indirect connection whatsoever with that espionage case. Now the Central Bureau of Investigation has filed a charge sheet against those accused, four from the Kerala police officers and one from the Intelligence Bureau. The charge sheet has filed that they have conspired against Mr. Nambi Narayan, and they have filed false charges against Mr. Nambi Narayan. Now moving on to the next important news headline for the day, and the next important news headline is: offense of cruelty by husband does not apply to live-in partner. This particular ruling is given by Kerala High Court. Now the Kerala High Court has observed that a man who was not legally wedded partner of a woman cannot be prosecuted for the offense of cruelty under section 498A of the Indian Penal Code, as it does not come under the definition of husband in the section. Now, the Kerala High Court has made it very clear that a partner who is living, a husband, if he is not the husband, if a man is living in a live-in relationship with a woman, then that woman cannot file the charge. That woman cannot file the case of criminal, the offense of cruelty. And the reason why that woman cannot file the charges of cruelty against her living partner, because section 498A of Indian Penal Code defines what a cruelty is, and in the section 498 it is very clear and evident that cruelty is, the offense of cruelty can be made out only by the husband. So a living partner is not a husband of the woman, he is just your live-in partner. लिव-इन पार्टनर का कोई लीगल स्टेटस होता ही नहीं है, इसीलिए केरला हाई कोर्ट ने एकदम क्लियर स्टेटमेंट रिलीज किया और उसमें बोला उन्होंने कि हम एक लिव-इन पार्टनर को, एक लिव-इन पार्टनर के अगेंस्ट, एक वुमेन के द्वारा अगर किसी एक मैन के अगेंस्ट क्रूएलिटी के चार्जेस फाइल किए जाते हैं और वो वुमेन उस आदमी के साथ लिव इन में रह रही थी, तो क्रूएलिटी के चार्जेस उस पर फाइल ही नहीं हो सकते, क्रूएलिटी का ऑफेंस कमिट ही नहीं किया जा सकता है. Because the reason is very simple, because the cruelty is committed by a husband against his or her wife. That's the only reason why a charge cannot be pressed against, why a charge of cruelty cannot be pressed against a husband. Now the next important news is coming all the way from Kerala's Vizhinjam port. Now what is the news? Scripting a new chapter in the maritime history of the country. The first mothership carrying cargo from the Xiamen Port in China, called at the Vizhinjam International Seaport, India's first deep water container transshipment port on Thursday morning. Now, the Marshall Island flagged container ship San Fernando. So, the name of the ship is very important, San Fernando, owned by SFL Corporation Limited. So, this is the only news which we have to understand, that the the first mothership is going to dock at Kerala's Vizhinjam Airport, and the name of the ship is San Fernando. Now, moving on to the next important aspect of today's newspaper. No intrusion recorded on cameras on Jammu and Pak border. J&K Punjab officials meet to tackle rise in militancy in Jammu. Not important. India hosts BIMSTEC foreign ministers amid Myanmar crisis. So basically, this seven-member organization, which is known as BIMSTEC. Now, what is BIMSTEC? So BIMSTEC is basically Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. So their BIMSTEC has 7 members. BIMSTEC के total 7 members भी हैं. ये चीज़ भी आप लोग याद रखिएगा. And the full form of BIMSTEC is Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. Now, the meeting of BIMSTEC countries foreign minister meeting held in New Delhi. The meeting of BIMSTEC countries foreign ministers held in New Delhi. Now, the meeting assumes significance as it is being held against the backdrop of major developments in Myanmar, where the military junta has been receiving battlefield setbacks against dozens of ethnic armed organizations. So, the main objective of this particular meeting, or the main agenda of this particular meeting, was the increasing cases of violence in Myanmar because of the direct conflict between junta rebellion and the extra ethnic armed organization. Now, ethnic armed organizations are taking charges of so many police stations and so many government buildings in Myanmar, that once again the junta rebellion has taken pace, and things are happening at a very quick pace, and the violence is spreading all over the Myanmar. People are losing their lives. There are a lot of citizens of Myanmar who are leaving this particular country because of the increasing number of war crimes, increasing number of, not war crimes actually, increasing number of violence. Many of the people who are living in Myanmar, they are leaving Myanmar because the junta rebellion has made it clear that many people has to participate, and they have to actually serve the junta rebellion a minimum compulsory service. This is also the reason why the many citizens from Myanmar are leaving the country in the most effective possible way. Now, moving on to the next important news headline for the day. इन सारे न्यूज आइटम्स को हमें सिर्फ ऊपर ऊपर से कवर करना है, बहुत डीप में नहीं जाना है. डीप में हमें सिर्फ उन्हीं आर्टिकल्स के जाना है जिनका थोड़ा सा एग्जाम के लिए इंपॉर्टेंस थोड़ा सा बड़ा है, ज्यादा है. ठीक है, अब हम लोग मूव करेंगे नेक्स्ट न्यूज हेडलाइन पे. सो बेसिकली, सेंटर हैज बिगन एफर्ट्स टू इम्प्लीमेंट लेबर कोड्स. नाउ, it's been more than a month since Prime Minister has taken the oath for the third straight term. Almost a month after swearing in of Narendra Modi government for the third term, the Union Labour Ministry has started efforts to implement the 4 labor codes which were passed in Parliament in its second term in 2019 and 2020. So basically, few labor codes were drafted by the Parliament, and those codes were also passed by both the houses of Parliament in 2019-20. For the last 4 years, these codes were not implemented in the country because of the various objections from the trade unions. Now the center is trying to trying to explain things to the trade unions, and they are trying to implement this particular labor codes throughout the territory of India. Almost all the states have framed the rules, and the center has said it is helping those states which could not draft the rules to complete the process. So many of the states has already drafted their respective state rules, but there are so many states in India that few of them has not able to draft these rules yet. Some of the states are there which has not able to draft the rules which are related to the labor code. So the central government has politely given a statement that they will provide every possible kind of help to those states which are not able to draft the rules on their own. The central trade unions had opposed this implementation of the code, citing that they will curtail trade union rights and social security measures for workers. Recently, now, what is the argument? What is the argument that is given by the trade unions, that this particular code will directly affect the trade union rights of and trade union rights of the workers. This because this will also impact the social security measures for workers. That's why they are they are protesting against these particular codes. This is the only important. This is the only important information from this particular news item. The only thing that we have to remember is that these codes were framed in the year 2019 and 2020. Now the central government is giving every possible effort to implement these codes throughout the territory of India, and for the same reason, central government has given a statement that they will provide help to each and every state which is not able to draft the rules on their own. Now moving on to the next important news headline for the day, and the next important news headline for the day: Captain Abhilash Rawat and his crew of an oil tanker have been named among the winners of the International Maritime Organization 2024 Award for Exceptional Bravery at Sea for their extraordinary courage shown in a Red Sea rescue mission. So basically, in the month of January 2024, few Navy officials, Captain Abhilash Rawat and his crew, saved a ship in January 2024. That's why they are being awarded. That's why they are being given International Maritime Organization 2024 Award for Exceptional Bravery at Sea. So basically, we have to remember the name of the captain. The name of the captain is Avilash Rawat. Now, Captain Rawat and his crew were declared winners by the IMO on Wednesday for the determination and endurance demonstrated while coordinating firefighting damage control efforts to combat a fire that broke out after an anti-ship missile reportedly fired by Iranian-backed Houthi rebels struck their vessel Marlin Luanda earlier this year. So basically, the name of the ship from which the people were saved, the name of the ship was Marlin Luanda, and the captain Avilash Rawat and his crew has saved the people on Marlin Luanda, and for this particular contribution, International Maritime Organization has awarded them with the award of exceptional bravery. Now moving on. Now this news is also important for us to understand. This news is also important for us to understand. This is not something very important, but yeah, again, this is very important for the for the society as well. The Vice Chancellor of Delhi University on Thursday said amendments proposing the inclusion of readings from Manusmriti in the syllabus of the Faculty of Law have been rejected. Today, the Delhi University received a proposal from the Faculty of Law suggesting changes into some courses. The two suggested text amended have been rejected by the university and will not be taught. So basically, it was suggested by the Faculty of Law, Delhi University, that the some excerpt from the Manu Smriti should be taught and should be included in the curriculum of the Faculty of Law, Delhi University. But the Vice Chancellor of Delhi University has clearly rejected this proposal, and he has given this statement that we won't be including any except from the Manu Smriti into the curriculum as of now, so we won't be accepting this particular proposal. Now moving on to the next important news headline for the day, and the next important news headline for the day is so basically the collegium has recommended Justice Koteshwar Singh and R Mahadevan for the elevation to the Supreme Court of India. The five-member Supreme Court Collegium, headed by Chief Justice of India, Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud, on July 11, recommended Justice N. Koteshwar Singh and Madras High Court Acting Justice R. Mahadevan, Acting Chief Justice R. Mahadevan for the appointment as apex court judges. If the recommendations come through, Justice Singh will be the first judge from Manipur, a state which has witnessed traumatic months of ethnic violence, to be the elevated to the Supreme Court. So this is the kind of very important news headline for the day, and the important news headline for the day is that Mr. N. Koteshwar Singh and Mr. Justice R. Mahadevan, they have been recommended to be elevated to the Supreme Court of India by the Collegium. Now the appointment of Mr. Koteshwar Singh is very important because he is coming from the state of Manipur, and the state of Manipur is facing the state of Manipur is facing a lot of violence in last 1 year. So this is a kind of achievement that one person coming all the way from Manipur has made it to the Supreme Court of India. Now, this is at this particular moment, this is the recommendation which is given by the Collegium. Now, moving on. So basically, this news is important. We will cover Supreme Court ceremony verdict, Muslim groups group, looking at legal options. So we will be covering this news item in detail in the next part when we will be covering editorials. Till then, we can leave this as of now. Moving on to the editorial section of today's newspaper, and this is the news item that we were talking about. This is the news item that we were talking about. Secular remedy. Muslim women's right to maintenance under secular law is well established. This was the line, this was a statement given by the court. Now, this judgment becomes very important because this judgment has given supremacy to criminal procedure code over the the 1986 law, that is Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Divorce Act. Now, the most important thing is to know the case title. The case title for this particular case is case title. The case title was basically Muhammad Abdul Samad. Muhammad Abdul Samad. Muhammad Abdul Samad versus State of Telangana. In this particular case, Supreme Court gave a judgment, and the judgment was given by Justice B.V. Nagaratna, Justice B.V. Nagaratna and Augustine George Musi. So the judgment in the case of Muhammad Abdul Samad versus State of Telangana was given by a two judges bench, and the bench comprises Justice B.V. Nagaratna and Augustine George Massey. Now this judgment was given by the Supreme Court, and this judgment has clearly clearly made the stand very clear that the Muslim women are entitled to get maintenance under Section 125 of Criminal Procedure Code, and Section 125 of Criminal Procedure Code will supersede the provisions of Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Divorce Act 1986. Although this was the contention which was raised by the petitioner that the act which was passed in the year 1986, basically Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Divorce Act, it is a kind of specific legislation, it is a kind of specific statute. So this particular specific statute will override the provisions of Criminal Procedure Code. But again, this particular reasoning was denied by the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has clearly has made it very clear that we being a secular country, we cannot treat somebody in a less good less in a less way in a less possible way, because of the reason that if some person is belonging from a specific community, then we cannot curtail the rights of that particular person because he or she is from that specific community. So that's why, keeping in mind the interest of the keeping in the interest of keeping in the mind the interest of the defendant, Supreme Court has made it very clear that the husband has to provide the husband has to provide the maintenance to her wife even after the iddat period, because the 1986 act has mandated that the Muslim husband is only bound to give maintenance till the iddat period, and after the expiration of iddat period, Muslim husband is not bound to provide any kind of maintenance to her wife. This particular position was changed by the Supreme Court. This particular petition was changed by Supreme Court, and they gave a judgment in the case of Abdul Samad versus State of Telangana that one cannot override the effect, the journal effect of any specific statute. So the women will be given compensation. So the women will be provided maintenance under Section 125 of Criminal Procedure Code. Now, another important thing that we have to keep in our mind that Section 125 of Criminal Procedure Code is related to maintenance. And one thing that is very clear from Section 125, that Section 125 is a journal provision. It does not talk about any religion specifically. Now, Now, Justice Massey, in his main opinion, concludes that both the personal law provisions and the secular remedy for seeking maintenance ought to exist in parallel in their distinct domains. Now, this is also very important for us to understand that the Justice Augustine Massey has clearly stated that the both the provisions, one which is given in the personal law and one which is given in criminal procedure code, should coexist parallelly, and they do exist, and they have their importance in their specific distinct domains. They need to coexist parallelly. While the CRPC may be invoked by a woman if she was unable to maintain herself, the 1986 Act makes it a Muslim husband's obligation to provide for his divorced wife and her children up to a certain point, that is iddat period. Justice Nagaratna, in her concurring opinion, look at the social purpose behind the provision for maintenance in the Criminal Procedure Code, namely that it aims to prevent vagrancy among women by compelling the husband to support his wife. The 1986 codified the right available to a divorced Muslim woman in personal law. This right is in addition to and not at the cost of the rights available in existing law. So basically, this was the important reasoning given by Justice Nagaratna, that though 1986 one is a special provision, though it is a special provision, but Criminal Procedure Code came in the year 1973. So there was already one existing remedy. This is an existing remedy which is given in section 125 of Criminal Procedure Code. Now this particular remedy which is given in the Act of 1986, this particular remedy cannot override the effect of this particular remedy which was given in the Criminal Procedure Code 1973. Now, this right is in addition to and not at the cost of the rights available in existing law. So basically, what Justice Nagaratna has said, that the existing right, which is given in section 125, आप इस राइट को अफेक्ट नहीं कर सकते हैं. अब 1986 में एक्ट फ्रेम भी हो गया है, उसके बावजूद जो ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टिंग राइट है, उस राइट की लीगैलिटी कम नहीं हो जाती है नया एक्ट फॉर्म हो जाने से. इसलिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट के पास ये क्लियर पावर है कि वो किसी को सेक्शन 125 के अंडर मेंटेनेंस प्रोवाइड कर सकता है, बिकॉज सेक्शन 125 इज अ सेक्युलर प्रोविजन इटसेल्फ, बिकॉज इट डज नॉट टॉक अबाउट एनी रिलीजन स्पेसिफिकली. Although despite all these rulings by the Supreme Court, the aggrieved party is trying to find out the ways by which they can overturn the judgment given by the Supreme Court, but I think it is not possible. The name of the case is very important: Abdul Ahmad Samad versus Muhammad Abdul Samad versus State of Telangana. In this particular case, the judgment was given by Justice Nagaratna and Justice Massey. Now moving on. So plenum, what is the meaning of plenum? Reading the tea leaves ahead of China's third plenum. So basically plenum means an association or organization जिसमें उसके सारे members मिलने के लिए आते हैं. A meeting or a sitting where all the members of an organization participate. So basically now there is a third plenum in China where the ruling party and all the leaders and various representatives will participate. Now the most important thing that will be discussed during this particular plenum: China is witnessing a rapid economic slowdown. Not exactly the slowdown, but yeah, a lot of big companies in China are facing big troubles. That's why in yesterday's newspaper we have already covered that China has ordered an internal inquiry and investigation against the big four audit firms. Why? Because many of the companies in China are collapsing. The economic pace is not at that great rate. Economic pace is not at that great level. And also many of the countries in West believes that China has already peaked the development process. और चाइना को जो भी पीक अचीव करना था, चाइना ने वो ऑलरेडी अचीव कर लिया है. अब चाइना में इकोनॉमिक सैचुरेशन पहुंच चुका है. अब इसके बाद डेवलपमेंट करना इतना पॉसिबल नहीं होगा. इसलिए ये जो पर्टिकुलर प्लेनम का डेलिब्रेशन होगा ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाएगा, क्योंकि चाइना का रोल ओवरऑल बहुत बड़ा रहने वाला है हर एक चीज में, बिकॉज चाइना इज द सेकंड लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी इन द वर्ल्ड Our neighboring country China is the second largest economy in the world. It has second largest population in the world. So China has to maintain a lot of things, and the image of China and the impression of China is not good at the world level. The image of China is very bad at the world level. Every country see China as a main organ behind the spreading of COVID-19. Many countries called China as a rogue nation. So these are the various disadvantages which are related to China. Being China is not easy. Being China is not easy. Being China is very difficult. You have to survive despite knowing the fact that no one is with you. Now NATO countries has the NATO has enabled, or the NATO has labeled China as the war enabler, decisive enabler in a Russia-Ukraine war. So these are the things that we have to understand. Now, if we compare ourselves with China, we are at the far better position as compared to China. The best thing about India is that we have a positive global image. We have a positive global image thanks to our Indian ethos that had helped us in achieving this particular feat, that our image is positive. So this is that's why this particular plenum becomes very important. But as of now, there will be, there has been no significant development. Once there is any significant development, we will cover this news in totality. But again, this particular news item is talking about all the philosophical and few factual aspects about the current China situation, which is not so good. Many companies are collapsing. The biggest, construction company, one of the biggest companies of related to the construction sector, Evergrande had failed miserably. Although despite the financial assistance provided by the Chinese government, Evergrande is not able to survive. Evergrande is not able to survive. That's why China is considering each and everything, in the is trying to conduct and trying to do everything in the best possible way. And for the same purpose, they have ordered an internal scrutiny and inquiry against the four big audit firms. Now, this is one important aspect of today's editorial. Now, moving on to the next important aspect, and the second is related to the reproductive health of men. Reproductive health of men, and what are the various issues related to the men's reproductive health. So this is one important news item that we have to cover, and we have to cover only few important facts, and after that we can skip into the again this particular issue that is related to need. World Population Day has passed. So yesterday was World Population Day. As we grapple with the multifaceted challenges of global population dynamics, it is crucial to turn the spotlight on a subject often overshadowed in infertility. Male infertility remains a stigmatized issue, shrouded in silence and with misconceptions. So basically, what this author is trying to say, that male infertility, male infertility, is a kind of stigma. Everybody thinks that male infertility is a kind of stigma, and because of that, they don't want to talk about their infertility. And infertility means infertility is basically a health issue. It is a health issue. So there is a possible solution, and although there is no possible, there is some treatment. So everybody should get the treatment if they have any, infertility related issue, because this is a health issue. This is a health issue, और health issue का treatment लेना ही एक समझदारी का काम होता है. ऐसा नहीं आपको पता चल गया कि आप के साथ में कोई मेडिकल कंडीशन है, तो आपको ऐसा लग रहा है कि पूरी दुनिया इस मेडिकल कंडीशन के बारे में एक सर्टेन वे में सोचती है, इसीलिए आप उस पर्टिकुलर बीमारी को ठीक करने का जो एक करेक्ट अप्रोच है वो नहीं अडॉप्ट करेंगे. We have to understand this thing. Men infertility is a male infertility is a health issue, and this health issue is to be resolved quickly. Now, in 2004, the World Health Organization estimated that globally between 60 million to 80 million couples struggles with infertility. So all around the world, there are 60 to 80 million people who are struggling with infertility. So infertility is not, something which is related to India only. It is a problem which is spreaded, which is, present in all around which is present all around the world. Now, the main problem related to the reproductive health of men is the lifestyle problem. The main problem or the main issue related to the men's reproductive health is the lifestyle diseases, lifestyle problem. So basically, these are the things which are important. Except this, as of now, we won't be covering this article in much of the detail. The reason is very clear. We are looking for the facts only. Because for our examination, facts are very important. Facts are the key factor. But this particular article does not have much of the facts, and only important fact is that uh, In 2004, there were around 60 to 80 million people who were suffering from infertility. 60 to 80 million couples were suffering from infertility issues. Now, this is related to basically a new announcement, or not a new announcement, but a new project that is launched by the Andhra Pradesh government, and the support is provided by the central government, a 60,000 crore rupees refinery to Andhra Pradesh. Now one can say one thing. Now one can say that Andhra Pradesh has provided, and Chandrababu Naidu has provided support to the central government. That's why they are getting the benefits. But again, the situation of Andhra Pradesh is not so good. It has lost Hyderabad to Telangana, because after the bifurcation of Hyderabad and sorry, after the bifurcation of Telangana from from Andhra Pradesh in 2014, the Hyderabad was made the capital of Telangana, so it was the major source of revenue for both these states. It was the major source of revenue for Andhra Pradesh before Andhra Pradesh was bifurcated into Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. So Andhra Pradesh is facing a lot of economic and financial hardship, and the central has given them assistance, not exact assistance, but yeah, exactly. They have helped in getting a 60,000 crore rupees refinery in state of Andhra Pradesh. Now, the role of Finance Commission becomes very big. Why, the states are getting special packages? So the recommendation of Finance Commission also becomes very important, because if these things are done without the recommendation of Finance Commission, then these things will leave a huge impact on Indian economy. Also, the special status thing that is going currently in the market. So this is only the fifth, after the establishment of fifth Finance Commission, and after the report of fifth Finance Commission was submitted, the idea of special status came into existence. Now, from that time only, after the constitution of fifth finance commission, various states are demanding the special state status. And what is the benefit of special state status? The only benefit of special state status is that you will be getting some extra benefits. And if there is any centrally sponsored scheme, 90% of the budget will be provided by the central government. So these are the various benefits of being a special state. If your state is getting a special state status, then there are a lot of benefits which are enjoyed by that respective state. That's why Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, and Odisha is continuously pushing for the special state status. Now moving on to the next important aspect of today's newspaper. So basically, we are into the finance sector now. China is building two-thirds of new wind and solar capacity globally. So basically, China is making a huge investment on non-renewable sources of energy, and basically, China is producing two-thirds of the wind and solar capacity globally. So this is a kind of big update, that China is producing 66% of total wind and solar capacity globally. And China is also, this is a great and this is also very good news headline for us to know that in the month of May, China has utilized, or China got 45% of electricity from non-fossil fuel sources. 45% of the total consumption was taken from the non-fossil fuel sources, which is a kind of very important, because China is investing hugely in a non-renewable sources, either it is wind energy or solar energy. China is at currently China is producing 66%, that is two-thirds of the entire wind and solar energy globally. Now, we have already covered this, that NATO countries are sending F-16 jets to support Ukraine. Now, this was decided at a 75th anniversary summit, that NATO nations will provide F-16 jets to support Ukraine. Now, moving on to the next important news headline for the day: China's top brass to meet with allies and struggling economy. So this we have already covered this in slightly in the editorial part as well, that this particular meeting, plenum will hugely affect the economic scenario in the country, because the west is firmly believing that China has already peaked the development. अब इससे आगे चाइना में कुछ नहीं होना जाना है. अब ये जो मीटिंग हो रही है, जो थर्ड प्लेनम हो रहा है, इसमें बेसिकली ये लोग चाइना का जो नेक्स्ट रोड मैप है कि इकोनॉमी कैसे रैपिडली ग्रो कर सकती है वो डिसाइड किया जाएगा इस प्लान में। बस इतनी ही चीज़ इंपॉर्टेंट है। और चाइना में बहुत सारे इकोनॉमिक अप्स एंड डाउन्स हो रहे हैं, कुछ बड़ी बड़ी कंपनीज फेल कर रही हैं। इसको लेकर के गवर्नमेंट काफ़ी ज़्यादा कंसर्न है। ओवरऑल दे वांट टू इम्प्रूव द सिचुएशन एंड और वो बेस्ट को गलत साबित करना चाह रहे हैं कि हमने अभी अपना पीक अचीव नहीं किया है, हमें अभी अपना पीक अचीव करना बाकी है। अब हम लोग आ जाते हैं स्पोर्ट्स सेक्शन में। विजय अमृतराज एंड लिएंडर पेस। विजय अमृतराज एंड लिएंडर पेस। Vijay Amritraj and Leander Pace and Richard Evans, the 2024 International Hall of Fame inductees. So basically, Amritraj and Leander Pace from India has been inducted into International Tennis Hall of Fame on the sidelines of Wimbledon, which is currently going on. This is a kind of a great and important news for us. This is a kind of proud moment that two Indian lawn tennis player, Amritraj and Leander Pace, have been included into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Now moving on to the next important aspect of today's newspaper. So yeah, this article is about basically Sharat Kamal Achanta. He's above 40 years and he won he won four gold medal at Asian Games 2023, and also he is the flag bearer of Indian contingent at Paris Olympics. So with this we have completed the news analysis of 12th of July 2024, and I hope you found it useful and if you guys have found it useful, then do like this particular video and subscribe to Success Mantra channel for for any queries you can contact us directly, and also you can punch in your questions in the comment section as well. I wish you all the very best for your future endeavors. Thank you so much for watching this particular video. Thank you.